Jeff Davis, and I'm account manager here at Premier Ag Co-op. And Cole Mize and I today are going to go through what we think is a comprehensive water hemp management plan. This would be a year-long process to battle the water hemp that we have on our farms, and it's something that is important to us. We think it's important to you and can add value to your bottom line. And so since you're not going to be watching sports this fall, in place of football, this is going to be the 4 quarters of water hemp management. And the first quarter starts in the fall, and that's just about evaluating last year's processes, your failures and successes. Did your timing work? Was your rotation good? How did weather affect what I did? And then documenting those things so that you've got a record of what did work and what didn't work. Secondly, we want you to evaluate the seed bank, and whether in corn or soybeans, and evaluate how bad those fields are going to be the next year. Pay attention whenever you're shelling corn. Are there little water hemp weeds there that have seeds on them that are going to go to seed and give you a problem next year? Think about the rotation and how that's going to impact your results for the next year. How many years of beans on beans have you had? Can you put something else in the rotation to alleviate some of the pressure? Most of you mow your field edges, and this is beneficial to you so that you don't spread seed any further out into the field. Sometimes we can do early fall burn down, which we can keep some of these weeds from going to seed and therefore not being a problem the next year and carrying over. And then I think there's always a chance or an opportunity to evaluate cover crops, whether they're going to be effective for you, whether they will be beneficial in reducing your water hemp pressure.
The second quarter is our winter season. The first thing we need to do in our second quarter is understand what's available and what's effective, whether that be traits, herbicide programs, or timing of applications. We also need to take into consideration our neighbors and what they are doing, what traits they are using, and are they being effective, and if so, what's making their process effective. And we also need to take into consideration their crop rotation. Once we go through those, we develop our own plan. What trait are we going to use? What herbicide program are we going to use? And then we come up with our backup plan, whether that's due to weather, timing of applications, or even neighbors making changes later in their season. We take into consideration our soybean row width and soybean populations, and then make plans according to those. And we also think about tillage and if that's an option, and if so, how can we use that effectively. After putting our plan together, we decide to make our purchase, and we make our purchases from a supplier that is flexible and can make changes and take returns in season. And that concludes our second quarter.
Starting with the third quarter, that's when the action really gets hot and heated in the spring, and that's when we really need to be on top of our game. All our plans are made, and it's just a matter of putting them into practice. So one of the first things that I like to think about is, where are the water hemp going to start coming up first? And water hemp will start to emerge with 300 growing degree days. And remember, that seed has been in the ground all winter and early spring, and so oftentimes we have heat units that will get those things started before our corn plants or soybean plants get started. We want to think about where the soils are warmer. Your sands, your darker soils are probably going to warm up a little faster. Where were your pressures higher last year? That's where you want to go look first to see if you've got some coming. Also, is your cover crop thick everywhere, or are there some weak spots that the water hemp are going to kind of come through those areas? The second part of the spring planting process is applying your residual herbicides, and we've all talked to you about how important different modes of actions are whenever we do this. What would be ideal, and what the university would recommend, would be to have 2 effective modes of action below ground and 2 effective modes of actions above ground to give you the biggest benefits. Also, Cole talked earlier about talking to your neighbors during the winter time and knowing what they're doing. Now's a good time to confirm that they actually did what they said that they were going to do, because this can affect your plan as well.
Our fourth and final quarter is our summer season. First thing we're doing in our summer season, or our fourth quarter, is making our post applications. These applications need to be made 21 to 28 days after our pre-emergence applications. These applications need to have 2 effective modes of action above ground and at least 1 effective mode of action below ground. We need to be making our residual decisions based on our water solubility, depending on the weather and the timing of the application. After these applications are made, we need to continue to monitor our fields for escapes and new emergers. If we do have escapes or new emergers, we need to make applications to try to control these. We need to use effective application processes again, using the correct nozzles and the gallons per acre, and we also need to take into consideration our crop rotations in order to avoid any carryover issues. We look back and we attempt to understand why we had these escapes, whether it was due to weather, population, canopy, coverage issues, or we weren't running the correct rates that we should have been running. Evaluate those processes that we had over the year, and that rolls us back into our fall season again. So as you can see, it's a never-ending management when dealing with water hemp. And we want to be with you every step of the way in this constant battle. If you have any questions, reach out to your account manager at Premier Ag. Thank you.